Hey everyone, this is Gabriel. I came across a debate between Kent Hovind and Dr. Hugh Ross. They were on the John Ankerberg Show, and they were debating the age of the Earth. And obviously, Kent Hovind was taking the young Earth position, that the universe and the Earth were around 6,000 years old. And Hugh Ross is of the position that the universe and the Earth are billions of years old. And anyway, right in the middle of that debate, I mean, they've been going at it for about an hour, and no one really getting anywhere, but Kent Hovind was asked the question of all questions. And had he known the answer, it could have turned that debate upside down and led them into the truth that, yes, absolutely, the Earth and the universe are around 6,000 years old. Actually, they're not even quite that old yet. Because when they reach that age, that's when Jesus will be here. He'll return. And so let's go to the tape. Let's listen to the question.
He went out for a walk. And the animals were all created on one literal day, the sixth day. And then Adam and Eve were both made on the sixth day. It wasn't a long period of time between Adam and Eve like Dr. Ross believes. It was the same day. And there's, the God that I worship is able to do it right. And he's able to do it in a few seconds.
Okay, but you're saying that God could. Is there any benefit of God doing it quicker than 6 24-hour days? In other words, if that shows his power, why not do it in 2 nanoseconds and really show off? Why do you say that he couldn't have done it longer?
Oh, he
in other words,
when
a painter paints his picture,
I understand.
Okay, he can take his time in doing whatever he wants. He's the creator.
Right.
Is there anything better about saying he did it, over 10 billion years of age, 2 nanoseconds, or 6 24-hour days? Is there some spiritual quality that adheres to that?
Oh, did you hear that? Did you hear that? John Ankerberg wants to know, is there some reason that God created the world in 6 days and rested a seventh? Exactly 6 literal 24-hour days. Why didn't he just create it in 2 seconds or 2 nanoseconds or 14 billion years? I mean, is there some spiritual quality, he asked, that adheres to this fact that Kent Hovind, you're trying to hold to this position that God created the world in 6 literal days? What's your answer, Kent? And now listen to what Kent answers. He don't have a clue why God created the world in 6 days and rested on the 7th. Even though for 2,000 years, the church back in the 1st century, 2nd century, 3rd century, there's evidence that they knew exactly why God created the world in 6 days and rested on a 7th. But let's listen to his answer.
Well, the only reason I can see for God taking 6 days, he could have done it in 0 time. He doesn't need any time at all, and could have made it perfect and right. And God doesn't need 17 billion years to get the stars just right to support life for this brief time period like Dr. Ross teaches in his books. My God did it right in 6 days, just like he said. We have a solar reason that we have a year. We go around the sun once a year. We have a lunar reason that we have a month. Used to be the month was about the same time as the lunar cycle. Nobody knows why we have a 7-day week. There's no, what's the historical reason? Why does every culture have a 7-day week? Napoleon tried to change it to a 10-day week, and it was disaster. We're just kind of built with our biological clock to work 6 days and rest 1. And it's normal days. God wasn't telling the Jews to work 6 million years and then rest, or work 6,000 years and then rest.
He told them to work the agricultural land 6 years, though.
Yeah, I think the 7-day week is established because of the creation. And the biological clock is just a normal, God just did it that way, just so we'd have. And I also think that God created, it says in Genesis 1 that God said, let us make man in our image. The very next verse says, so God created man. Here you've got an example where created and made means the same thing.
Did you hear that? What was that? He created the world in 6 days and rested the 7th to establish the 7-day week. Oh, so in other words, had God created the world in 2 nanoseconds, just boom, there's everything, he couldn't have then just told Adam and Eve to, look, I want you guys to, count 6 cycles of light and dark, what you see each day, and I want you to, and then a 7th, and I want you to keep a 7-week cycle from here on out. He couldn't have just told them that? Like he had to create the world in 6 days and rest a seventh. That was the only way he could establish a 7-day week for mankind. Oh, come on, man. That's not the answer. Not the answer, Kent. So here's the answer. The reason God created the world in 6 days and rested on a 7th day was so that he could declare the end from the beginning. He wanted to declare when the end would come from the very beginning of time in the creation story. What he did was he established 7 days. And so what was going to happen is in the future, Earth was going to go through 7 equal periods of time. Well, later in God's Word, he left out the clue to that, or the key to that period of time. He said a day is like 1,000 years, or 1,000 years is like a day. And so what it was, in the first century, like I said, the first century, second century church, the third century, all throughout the last 2,000 years, God has had different men speaking the truth that the creation story, the 6 days, represented a 6,000-year plan for this earth. And that's 6,000 solar years. It's one trip of Earth around the sun. 6,000 years would come and go from creation until Jesus' return. And when he returns, he's going to set up a 1,000-year millennial reign of its fulfillment of the 7th day, Sabbath in the creation story. That's the truth. That's the answer of why God created the world in 6 days and rested on the 7th. He couldn't have done it in 2 nanoseconds because there's no way to have prophesied that then. See, it was all a secret. It was a hidden way. It was a mystery that God was able to declare when the end would occur from the very beginning. Realize you cannot tell time without numbers. If you're going to, if I give you a time to meet me 3 days from now, even there, 3 days. Meet me 3 days from now at 10:53 in the evening. See, it's numbers. You have to tell time using numbers. And this is the reason God put numbers in the creation story. 6 days and the 7th day of rest. 7,000-year plan God has planned for this earth. That's the answer. That's the reason God created the world in 6 days and rested the 7th. And it even gets deeper than that. I mean, God has given me the revelation that in each of those creation days, he prophesied the most important event that was going to occur in that 1,000-year period. So day 1 of creation, there's something in it that God prophesied about the first 1,000 years of mankind's history. It's the greatest event that was going to occur with respect to God's plan for this earth. Day 2, same thing. He prophesied the biggest event that would occur in day 2, in the second millennium of Earth's history. This is fascinating. When you understand all these things, oh man, there's no other way to it's just truth. I mean, it is the truth. So visit www.2028n.com if you want to learn these things. There's a creation brochure that will tell you all these things. You can get it, hand it out to your family and friends. It'll tell you all. In one little brochure, there's a graph on the inside, a chart, beautiful color chart that explains each day and what was prophesied, what was fulfilled during that millennium, when Jesus died, when he's going to return. It's the most beautiful, gorgeous thing. And seriously, folks, pray for Kent Hovind. I have sent these things to him when he was in jail. And I've sent my book to him that I wrote in 2008. And I've sent him the book again once he got out of jail down to his home in Pensacola, Florida. 3 brochures were in the book. I've given him all of this information. And please pray that he would receive this revelation, so that when he's in another debate or, whatever platform God gives him to speak on God's behalf to the world, that he would speak these things. These things are amazing. These things will make a person believe in God. And this increased faith will give that person a greater desire to want to live righteously to make heaven.